So our first speaker we have today is Jack Levin, who's a senior at New Trier High School. And Jack notes that many students at our school are failing to realize the enormous gap between the rich and the poor that exists today. And to him, the issue is more than just income, and for our youth generation, he predicts it will become one of the most defining issues of our time. He is here with the goal of informing our generation about the problems of inequality and what it has in store for our future. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jack Levin.
Hi everybody, I'm Jack Levin. I'm a senior at New Trier High School. So my quest into this issue of income inequality really started with my research paper last year. It was junior theme in American Studies, and we had a focus on a topic that had to do with American society. It could be a literary figure in history, or it could be something like westward expansion. And at that point, I had really found an interest in politics. I still have a really big interest in politics today. And so I decided I was going to research income inequality and its effects on the political system. As I kind of moved through my research, I realized that income inequality encompasses our whole society. It's not something anymore that only is affected by the political system. It's really a societal issue that everyone has a stake in. Everyone needs to be aware of. And for my talk today, I want to focus on two different points that really stuck out to me through my research, and that's student loans and wages. The first quote I'm actually going to start off with kind of encompasses my whole viewpoint, and that's a quote by Elizabeth Warren, who is a senator from Massachusetts. I really appreciate everything she talks about. I think she's really insightful, and I think she has a lot of knowledge about the issues that are going to affect our generation in the future. So this is a quote from Elizabeth Warren. There's nobody in this country who got rich on their own. Nobody. You built a factory out there, good for you. But I want to be clear. You moved your goods to market on roads the rest of us paid for. You hired workers the rest of us paid to educate. You were safe in your factory because of police forces and fire forces that the rest of us paid for. You didn't have to worry about marauding bands would come and seize everything in your factory. Now look, you built a factory, and it turned into something terrific, or a great idea. God bless. Keep a hunk of it. But part of that underlying social contract is you take a hunk of that and pay it forward for the next kid who comes along. That last section about social contract is really sticks out in that quote in particular. And I think it's really important for us as a society to understand that it's not all about us sometimes. It's really about investing in the future. And as I heard the talk or the video before, the girl talked about specifically how you have to invest in opportunities for future generations. And a lot of the issues that happen within inequality are the fact that we're not investing in those issues. We're not investing in the things that we should be investing in, and we're not taking caution in the things that should be taken caution in. This is my first point in student loans. So currently in the United States, the average student loan is about $28,000. 71% of college graduates in 2012 have some type of student loan debt. And now there's about $1.2 trillion of student debt in the United States. $1.2 trillion. That is a very large number. And I think it's really important to understand that that number is going to keep growing. That's not a number that's just staying put and it's going to stay there. More and more students are investing in higher education, and we as a country have valued higher education as something to take part in. A lot of my research last year, I talked about the GI Bill, which was a bill that invested in college for veterans in the middle 1920s during the Great Expansion programs, and New Deal and things like that. And it was expanded for peacetime service as well. And it's the government's role in that sense that they wanted to invest in education, and they wanted to put an emphasis that college education is important. And you see that coming across in our generation today. A lot of us in New Trier in particular will go on to higher education. We'll go on to invest in college. Whether we take out student loans or not, that's up to the family circumstances around us, but it's something that almost every student has a stake in and every student wants to have a stake in. The federal government in particular has a huge stake in this. The $1.2 trillion of student debt is almost all federal government debt. That's just the federal government. There is more debt even in private firms. But if you look at the third point, the federal government made $66 billion off of student loans from 2007 to 2012. So that's from the interest rates that they got back. So you pay money, you have to pay a little more back because they were able to give you this loan and that they trusted you and they wanted to make sure you were paying it back and they wanted to make sure that they would get a little something out of it if they were giving you this opportunity. That for me is a number that is really, really worrying. And the reason why that's worrisome is because that means that the federal government is making money off the backs of students that have worked hard. These aren't students that are going to college to become crazy things that society doesn't need. These are students that are putting their lives in the hands of the federal government, who want to show our society that they want to make a difference in the world, who want to invest in the future of our society. And our government has told them, we're going to make money off of you. We're going to make $66 billion off of you. And as more and more student loans come in, and as more and more of that debt is paid off, that number is going to rise. And our federal government is starting to depend on that money. If you look at the debate in Washington right now, Senator Warren and Senator Dick Durbin, who's currently up for re-election in Illinois, have proposed a bill in which students would be able to refinance their loans from the highest rate of 7% to a lower than 4% rate. That's an amazing bill. That is a bill that allows students the opportunity to not pay as much for investing in higher education. That's the federal government giving them the opportunity to move down their loans and to make sure that they actually are able to pay them back in the long run. We're telling them that their education is worthwhile for us. And that's so important. It's important to understand that while we could be taxing people like students, who we could be making money off of students, we should be making money off of people who can pay that money back, people who may not be affected that much. The way that they propose paying for that tax is through the Warren Buffett rule. And Warren Buffett, of course, is one of the most wealthy Americans in the United States, and he talks about how his federal income tax rate is about 30%, and that's because it's a combination of the money he makes from income and the combination of the money he makes from investments and things like that. That's 30%. The middle income tax bracket is 35%. 35%. So his secretary, when you hear things like his secretary pays higher tax rates, it's because they do pay a higher tax rate. She is paying higher tax rate, or he is paying higher tax rate for money that may actually have helped him in the future pay off his student loans or something like that. It's important to understand that when the federal government is going to make money off of people, they should be making money off of people who can afford it, who can actually give back to society because they have made an excess. And in the case of student loans, it's important to understand that these aren't excess funds that the government is giving away. Student loans are meant to be a project in which the federal government is investing in the future. These children are investments. The generation, our generation, future generations are investments. We are investing in their success, and it's important for us to look at that success and not think about how can we make money off of this. So moving forward from this, it's important to look at how we should make money off of this, and it kind of goes into my second point about wages. Wages, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, and the state minimum wage in Illinois is $8.25 an hour. For a lot of people who receive a higher education, it is a higher wage. Education is a way for you to move up in the social ladder because you have an education, there are more jobs, there are less jobs, and the jobs that are there are more in demand, supply and demand. They want supply for jobs with an education that certain people can't provide, so they need to pay a certain price for people to do those jobs. Obama has recently come in the news because he wants to raise the federal minimum wage to $10.10 an hour. He recently did that for federal contract workers, but he wants to make it the federal minimum wage for everyone. So a federal minimum wage says that federal minimum wage is $10.10 an hour. Every state has to have a minimum wage of $10.10 an hour. It's as simple as that. The federal government has certain state laws. It's as simple as that. Oh, that's my bad. Like this. That's a laser point. Okay. And there's actually a study that says if the federal minimum wage was raised to $10.10 an hour, over 4 million people would be lifted out of poverty. That's a really big number, and it's important to understand that when you lift that many people out of poverty, you're contributing so much to our economy. I read an article that stated 70% of the GDP is associated with consumers, and then there's a lot of debate about whether that's true. And even the debate of whether it's lower still estimates that the lowest percent of the GDP that could be consumer consumer spending is 40%. That's a lot of our economy. It's based off of how much consumers can spend. It's based off of how much consumers can input back into society. And in the case of a minimum wage and the wages in the United States, if workers have more money in their pocket, they're going to spend that money and they're going to be able to contribute back into the economy. It's important for businesses to understand that when you pay your workers more, you're not only contributing, you may be hurting your business, but in the long run, you're going to be helping the government and the country to grow in a new direction that's much more sustainable in the direction of lowering inequality and making sure that the poor can get up into a higher class. One of my favorite examples that I read, I woke up this morning and I read this, I was like, having a panic attack, this is the coolest thing in the world. So this is the Costco CEO. He is quoted here saying, "I just think people need to make a living wage with health benefits. It also puts more money back in the economy and creates a healthier country." It's really as simple as that. So here is a businessman with one of the largest retailer chains in the United States, Costco. We all go to Costco. I love Costco. When my mom is in the audience right here and my dad goes to Costco, I'm like, yes, Costco, let's go. Costco is awesome. And that's because Costco is this amazing place with amazing workers that all know how to do their job so well. And one of those reasons is because they pay their workers really well and they get the best workers. So Sam's Club is a competitor to Costco. And if you look at Costco's average wage, it's $11.50. After 5 years, it's $19.50. And you get a 6-month bonus of $2,000, and you only get $12 out of pocket for benefits. You look at Sam's Club, you start out with $10 an hour, 5 years you get to $12.50, that's a $2.50 raise after 5 years, and you pay $40 out of pocket for benefits. And if you look at the final, Costco's average $814 in sales per square foot, while Sam's Club makes about $586 per square foot. And the Costco CEO talks about how the reason for that is because they are able to maintain a workforce that is higher educated and is higher motivated to do their jobs well because they are being paid a substantial amount that makes them want to stay in their jobs. Wages offer two things to the economy. One offers money into the GDP, and two offers a workforce that actually is able to contribute more. If you are being paid a high wage, you want to continue your job. You want to contribute back to society. In the case of Costco and Sam's Club, you want to work at Costco for as long as you can. You want to be the best employee you can because you're getting these amazing benefits. Now, in the case of Sam's Club, maybe their workers aren't working as well. Maybe I know they have higher turnover rates, which means that more employees will even come back all over because there's no need to stay in one stable job for a long time. For me, this distinction is really important as we move forward as a society, and it goes back to the student loan thing, in which if you have higher wages, you attract higher educated people. You attract students and businessmen and people like that who want to contribute more to the society, who want to contribute more to our whole GDP, just everything. I mean, I can't put it into words sometimes because it's honestly just unbelievable to me. And it's something that our society has, for some reason, failed to benefit from and failed to notice. I think I'm wrapping up my time short today. I actually don't know. To be honest. I think it's important for all of us to understand that when we look at these two issues of student loans and wages, don't look at them from a business side of it. Look at them as an investment in the future. And it's like the girl talked about before, these are opportunities for people. These are opportunities for our society to give back to these people, these stories that want to work harder and want to contribute. The American dream is based upon the fact that if you work hard, you're going to succeed. You're going to get somewhere. You're going to come from a poor background to a higher educated background, and eventually you're going to be able to live in an area like New Trier. We are so lucky to live in this area, and I think we really take it for granted sometimes. We benefit from a great police force. We benefit from a great fire department. We benefit from a great education in this school. These are investments that we have made as people who have lived off of wages that are higher, people who have been able to get higher education. These are investments for the future. These are investments. It's not something, it's not a number, it's not an interest rate, it's not this or that, it's the future. And for us to look at the future and say, well, how can we make it better for ourselves, is not the way we should be looking at it. We should be looking at the future and thinking, how are we going to benefit society? How are we going to benefit the world in general? as you look forward into your education for the students that are in here, look at those different aspects of our society. There is more research behind this than I can even say. I read a book by Joseph Stiglitz who talks about, for pages on pages, about how student loans are going to contribute to such a massive pile of debt. It's going to hold our economy back. It's going to hold all these things back, and that's because we've stopped looking at it as an investment. We've stopped looking at it as something that humans' lives can be affected. So take that away from this. Take away the fact that we are humanity, we are society. So thank you guys so much.